Running our own business isn't easy, and it can be a tough gig for all of us at times, and only other business owners truly understand the challenges that we face. And on Scale Up Radio, we aim to help make things just that little bit easier by interviewing guests who have been where you are now, regardless of where you are on the scale up journey, and maybe facing some of the challenges that you are facing. And they offer their thoughts and advice on what has worked well for them, as well as what didn't, of course. And we've also combined many of these lessons into a practical scale-up handbook called the Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System. And there's details of this at the end of the episode. So welcome to Scale Up Radio.
Hello, Liam Brignall, and welcome to Scale Up Radio. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, Granger. Thanks for having me. My name is Liam, and I am a mortgage advisor at go2mortgages. It's a father-son led team. I'm the son in that partnership. And we are your traditional mortgage brokerage. So what we can help people with, and what we do a lot of work in, are residential purchases. So when people are looking to buy properties, we can help them there. If people are looking to buy investment properties, we can help with buy-to-let purchases as well. But quite often, especially at the moment, remortgages is a big one in the marketplace at the moment. So people who have a mortgage but are looking to decide what they want to do going forward and what their next steps are. We help people in that situation. But the second half of our job is the insurance side. So quite often it comes hand in hand with mortgage work. People consider their life insurance, critical illness cover, income insurance, these things that quite often you think about when you do take a property on and take a mortgage. We do a lot of work in that area, and that's kind of probably the main growth area for us at the moment. So we work quite closely with families, but we also work with some businesses as well, and we do a little bit of business protection, as you can do some of these insurances through limited companies, which can have some benefits as well. So yeah, a real mix. We don't do anything out of the ordinary in terms of commercial mortgages or anything like that. We sort of know our bread and butter, and we do that really well.
Excellent. Well, yeah, mortgages, but with extra bits on top.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
All the protections that you would need to make yourself secure with the mortgage you're taking on. Yes, I can see that. Really interesting. So yeah, we'll get to some of that, I'm sure. So tell me about your business. How big are you? How long have you been going?
So we've been going for about 7. Well, it's a funny question because we've been going as go2mortgages for about 7-8 years now. But my dad has worked in the industry in a variety of different roles for 30 plus years. So in effect, what we did was we branded his business. He was Phil Brignall, the guy who people went to for his insurance, never sort of branded himself as such, purely worked off word of mouth, but grew a nice business. And when I decided to join the industry, 8 years ago, and I approached him and said, look, I'm quite interested in what you do, and I think we can do this in a different way. I think we can really move forward with it and try and grow something a little more substantial than what he had already grown himself. And he initially was a little bit suspect. I think the idea of working with his son didn't immediately cause him to smile. But yeah, eventually I managed to convince him that actually, there's a lot of potential in what I was looking to do. We created go2mortgages. It started off just me and Phil for the first couple of years. And to be honest, I spent most of my time shadowing him, learning the industry, doing my exams. There are obviously regulatory exams you need to do to be able to do what we do. So I was getting that done relatively slowly, didn't really want to push myself too hard. I'm quite sporty, and I was pushing my hockey. I used to play a lot of field hockey, and I was pushing that quite hard at the time as well. So it was quite hard to juggle everything. It took a couple of years just getting to know the industry, and then eventually we moved to a new network, which all sort of financial people typically work under a network. We moved to a new one, Primus. And that's when we thought, right, let's really have a go at this now and really try and grow. And that was, about 3-4 years ago. And it's shot up since then. We've now got 7 members of staff. 4 of those are family. So it's my mum works in the business. My wife works in the business. And then we've got 3 well, 2 non-family members and 1 starting in January as well. So it's been a real sort of transformation in the last couple of years, especially. And yeah, we're in a sort of stronger place than we've been.
Wow, a real family business. Fantastic.
It is. It's a proper family business, our one, yeah, which we love it. I mean, it doesn't work for everyone. Definitely comes with some challenges, but no, by and large, we've been very lucky. It's gone really well, and yeah, it's a real positive thing. And I think it makes us a little bit different as well, which is nice. I think typically our clients and people we meet, they like the story, they like the fact that we're a family business. So yeah, I would say it's only been a positive for us, really.
Brilliant. Wow. A family business that's growing and scaling. So, I noticed when we were looking at you that you recently finalists in the Scale Up Award. So do tell us about that.
Yeah. So my wife worked for a company in, let me get this right, Bitcoin in cryptocurrency. And they were quite big on awards and quite big on putting themselves forward for different things. So she brought that into our business and said, look, we should be trying to promote ourselves through different awards. So it was a couple of years ago that we thought, right, okay, we'll put and nominate ourselves for a few local awards. And then we also nominate ourselves for the Scale Up Award, which was a national one. And bizarrely, really, we didn't get anywhere with the local awards in Gloucestershire, but we then managed to get nominated as a finalist in the national one, which was that was by far the biggest sort of prestige award that we nominated ourselves for. So that was a pleasant surprise, really. Involved a trip up to London, a nice award ceremony. Theo Pafitis was running it, and I definitely felt out my depth when I saw our name up there and he was reading it. It was lovely. It was nice just even we didn't end up winning it, but it was nice to get a little bit of recognition and bit of sort of validation that what we're doing is going well and we are moving forward. But we did very recently, as of a couple of weeks ago, we won Best Mortgage and Insurance Brokerage in Gloucestershire for the SME Enterprise Awards, which, yeah, that's our first award win. That one was nice because it wasn't something we put ourselves forward for. We were actually nominated. We're not sure who did it, but we were nominated, we think, by one of our clients. So that was a nice thing to receive and came out of the blue. But we ended up winning that one. So yeah, Best Mortgage and Protection Business in Gloucestershire, which is a great title and something we're very proud of.
Yeah, well, congratulations. That's brilliant.
Thank you.
A finalist in the Scale Up Awards and now Best Mortgage. Well, brilliant. Well done to you all.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks very much.
So that leads me really onto the question. Then what do you strive to be different at? What makes, what do you want to be best and known for? There are lots of mortgage people out there. There's lots of mortgage companies, so you're winning.
There are, absolutely.
What is it about you guys? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a tough question to answer because I think sometimes people answer this question and potentially try and claim that they are very, very different in lots of different ways. I'm kind of the opposite in that and I say this to a lot of new people who get in contact with us, sorry. And I sort of just explained that there are a lot of brokers out there. We all do roughly the same thing. We can all get you a mortgage. We can all look after you. It's just the service and how you feel about the person that you're dealing with. And I think that's something we try and strive to be, is very welcoming. Being a family business, that I think that just helps that image a little bit. So we try and be very, very welcoming to our clients and prospective clients. We try and make sure that we're available whenever needed. So we're happy to work out of hours. We're happy to do evening calls. That isn't always the case. A lot of brokers are quite strict with when they're happy to speak to their clients, and we're not like that. So we try and be as family friendly as possible. And that's kind of a niche that almost without realizing it, we've kind of specialized in working with young families and in particular mothers. So mums who have just had children is a niche that we've sort of managed to find, because we found that there's a little bit of a gap in the market there. Women and mothers in particular are not getting access to the sort of advice especially when it comes to an insurance perspective. So things like life insurance, when you've just had a child, it's definitely a conversation you should be having. And not all mums in particular are getting that access to that information. So we really tried hard to find different ways to get in front of young families and people in that area that need that advice. So yeah, I think our USP is being very, very friendly, very family orientated, very accommodating, but still professional, of course. There's still an element of professionalism, absolutely. But I often have insurance calls with mums whose babies are crying on the end of the phone, and that might put some brokers off. But for us, we're all about that, and we're all about sort of being as accommodating as we can.
So you've talked about niching. You know, that's an important aspect of any business. You know, to focus our energy, to focus our activity. You know, and you've scaled quite nicely over the last 3 to 4 years. You know, growing in numbers. You know, mainly around the family, which is awesome. So, you know, what is it about the niche and focusing that has been successful for yourselves then?
Yeah, I think if you focus on one specific area, it doesn't have to be one area, but if you've got some specific areas that you want to focus on, it allows you to be a little bit more selective with how you work and with who you work with. I think we're all guilty sometimes as business owners of wanting to work with everyone, whatever comes in through the door, wanting to look after all these different people, and obviously try and make some money from different opportunities. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. We still help people who aren't in our day-to-day bread and butter type of business. We do. We're happy to do that. But what we try and do, if we can, is specialise and work with young families. And that was an area that we identified. And the way we sort of got to that was I sat down with my wife and we sort of discussed, right, what and who do we really want to deal with? In an ideal world, what does our perfect client look like? And for us, it was a young family, just had children. Those type of people for us, obviously, are potentially looking to move house because they need more space. They have just had a child, so they really need to think about things like life insurance and critical illness cover. So they're sort of our perfect client. And the other big sort of positive with that type of person is they're very similar to me and my wife at the moment. So I'm a firm believer in trying to work with people who are similar to yourselves because you can relate to their issues, you can relate to what's going on in their lives. I often have business calls which for the first 20 minutes we talk about sleep regression and we talk about the fact that we don't get any sleep because I've got 2 children under 2. Well, I did have 2 under 2. One's 2.5 and one's 1 now. 2 little girls who are fantastic, but they don't sleep. So I have conversations with people that are genuine conversations about life rather than just about business. And I think people appreciate that, and that helps build trust. So we quickly figured that working with young families was what we wanted to do, and that was our area that we wanted to focus on. So when we worked that out, the next thing was looking at, well, where are these people? Where are they physically? Where do they hang out? Where are they digitally? Are they on social media? Are they on specific websites? How do we sort of get in front of these people? And then when you've worked that out, the sort of third stage of things, which is the hardest bit, is how do we effectively get in front of these people and actually turn them from people who you want to chat to actual clients? That's the tough bit. And that's the bit that over the last couple of years, we've worked really hard on. Some things have worked really well. Other things haven't. It's always going to be the case. Not everything's going to work for you, but we've found some really nice ways of chatting to young families and being able to provide the advice we want to provide to the people that we want to provide it to. And as I said, it doesn't mean that we don't help other people. We business owners, for example, we do some business insurance, very, very different to the family stuff that we do. And we're always open to do that. But I think just by focusing ourselves on one specific area, I think it's really helped us specialize and grow and have a presence in one particular target market, which I think is really important.
And what you've just given us is a masterclass of marketing approach. Identifying your ideal customer, identifying where they are, and then identifying how you get in front of them. But what I love about what you've just talked through is that you've experimented, you've tried, you've tested ideas until you've found those that have worked for you, which resulted, hopefully, as you see, in the scaling and the growth that you've had through that. But I love that I love that real point, though, which goes back to the beginning of that part of the conversation, was they're people like us. So you're not trying to guess how they're feeling. You know how they're feeling. Yeah, you know what they're going through. And I think that's a really important key aspect of what you've done and achieved that I wanted to highlight there. So, wow, really, really interesting. I'm sure we'll come back and ask you a few elements on that. But so at the moment, what's the marketplace like? What's going on? Is it very competitive? Is it not? What are the trends that are taking place?
Yeah, it's really tough, actually. I mean, you've got to be hiding under a rock to know that mortgage rates are higher than they've been since I started the industry 7-8 years ago. People are saying that this is as tough a time as it has ever been since 2008. Which obviously, as we all know, was a horrendous time for the economy. So it is very tough. People are not looking to move. They're not purchasing as much as they were before. One area that has grown is remortgage work. So whereas before people would get to the end of their mortgage deal, and because things were all relatively comfortable, quite easy, people would be happy to do that themselves quite often and arrange their own remortgage, or they'll just stick with their current lender. Whereas now everyone is looking to save every penny they can. So gaining advice at that point in the process for customers has become the norm, really. So we're helping more people save money at the remortgage stage, which is a good thing for us. So we've done a lot of remortgage work. But purchases definitely have been down. I think we're very lucky for sort of two reasons, and why we've been able to buck the trend a little bit is that we have focused on the insurance side of things, firstly. So that is, I would say, the insurance side is less related to the economy. Although people need disposable income to be able to afford to take an insurance package, there is some correlation, but it's not quite as direct as it is when you're looking at mortgages. So that directly affects your pocket, and it's slightly different with the insurance side of things. So that's been a positive that we've been trying to grow there. But also just our natural growth, really. I'm 30, so a lot of my contacts, a lot of people I know are hitting that age now where they want to buy a property. I'm right in the middle of that sort of first-time buyer area. What you typically find anywhere between 25 years old and probably 40 years old is where probably 80% of first-time buyers buy their properties, in that age range. So being 30, I'm right in the middle of that and in the thick of it. So there's been some natural growth there, which has probably offset how difficult it would have been if that wasn't the case, and we weren't growing in that natural way. So yeah, we've been a little bit lucky in that sense. But yeah, from what we've heard from our network and having a chat with other brokers, the industry's definitely down. People are struggling, definitely, because there are less people looking to buy, and that's obviously our industry is fueled by people looking to buy houses and creating that chain of action, which isn't quite there at the moment. But things are looking up. Obviously, inflation has come down a bit to a little bit more of a better position. So things are. I don't think there's going to be a massive change going forward in the next 12 months. I don't think we're going to see any huge rate decreases. I think they've got a lid on things for now, and I think we'll sit and just consolidate in the position we are for a while. But hopefully then going into late 24, early 2025, we should see rates start to come down, which should free up a bit more disposable income, which will be good for everyone. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I don't think there are many people living under a rock that are not being impacted by this in one way or another, whether you've got a mortgage or not. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Well, fantastic. I really, really got that. And the way that you've use both mortgages and insurance, and you've got that stability within your business. And stability of income is really important to allow a business to grow and to scale, like yourselves, what you've done. So yeah, well done on that. So let's talk about the business. Scale Up Radio is about the growth and what you've learned along the way. And I'm intrigued to sort of first question around the family dynamics as you've increased with the number of family members within the business and it's grown. So it's important in business to have clear roles and responsibilities, for the growth of the business and the structure of it. So how have you gone about, deciding who owns what to ensure that the business grows and scales?
Yeah, I think we're quite selective with what our roles are. Me and my dad, we run the business. We're the owners of the business. My mum is head of admin, so she runs all of the casework. So when we submit a mortgage for someone, there's admin that needs to be done after that. We have to submit that case to our network. She handles all of that, which is more the compliance side, which is a hugely important area because it's the sort of thing in financial services that if you get wrong, it can be quite a disastrous thing. So very important, and she's fantastic and does that. My wife does the marketing side of things, so that side is a little bit more creative, and she gets the ability to be a bit more creative with what we do. And I work very closely with her on that as well. So that kind of falls under my remit a little bit too. So we've all got our roles. My dad, obviously, he's got a lot of experience. He does a lot of the back office stuff, as well as being an advisor himself. So me and him are the lead advisors. We have Aggie, who's a non-family member. She's our first insurance-only advisor, which is great. So that's changed the dynamic a lot, having Aggie come in. Whereas before it was me and Phil were the main advisors. We have another advisor, Sammy, who is working as well with us, who's non-family. But actually having Aggie come in as an insurance-only advisor, that it meant there was someone there who was giving advice who we had to manage. And that was quite a different thing. And we're only a few months into it, and we're definitely not doing it all right. I'm sure she would say it's not all been perfect, but yeah, we're learning how to be able to provide business for someone else within our business, and that's a different dynamic, which will take a little bit of time to get used to, but it's definitely the way forward. And she's been fantastic. She is a real good, and she's a very good saleswoman, very determined. So she's going to be really good, and it very nicely complements the team because I'm probably not quite as thorough as she is, to be honest, with my advice. So I'm probably a little bit more laid back, a little bit more gentle with my advice, and she's a different style, which I think is brilliant because there are definitely cases where I think, actually, you know what, I think Aggie might be able to do this a bit better. And there'll be cases where my approach works better. So it's nice to be able to have two advisors within the business with different styles. I think it works really well. So yeah, it's the dynamics of things. Obviously, being a family, you have to set boundaries. You have to, when you get to the weekend, try and not talk about work all the time. It's not easy. I'm the worst at it. I'm always sort of thinking about work, and it's always in the back of my mind. But yeah, it's not always possible to completely switch off. But we are good at that. I think we do give ourselves the time to sort of recuperate away from each other. And then, yeah, when we see each other back in the office on a Monday, it's a quick catch up in the morning, and then we crack on.
Yes, I know that thing about boundaries. I work with my life partner, and she has her roles and responsibilities, but we're in the same house. So it is hard to let go, but it's also hard to let go anyway. I don't think it's hard because as business owners, we think a lot about our business. We're naturally going to do that, finding that break. So how have you gone about, formalizing then the structure, the pattern, we call it the business rhythm, the meetings, elements that take place to give that stability for conversations that take place, or is it ad hoc? I don't know. Interested how the dynamic then works.
It's probably a hybrid at the moment, to be honest. It's always been very ad hoc because it always could be. When it was just me and my dad, we didn't need to have too much structure. As we've grown and introduced different people into the business, you have to try and provide a bit more structure. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Are we as structured as I would like us to be? or the final go-to mortgages that's the perfect go-to mortgages. Are we there yet? Probably not perfect, but we are much better than we have been in the past when it was just me and my dad. We've got a real good process for in-house, but for our clients as well. That's a big one that we've been working on. Obviously, just sort of going back to our target market, when we deal with young families, especially young mums who have just had children, funnily enough, time is not something they have. It's not easy to find time when you've got a 2-month, 3-month-old baby. So what we've managed to do is really streamline especially the insurance process. We've got that to a 2 phone call process, a few emails, and we can get it all done. It still has to be compliant. You still have to tick all the right boxes, of course. It can't just be something that you do quickly that isn't thorough. But we have managed to create a process that's slick and easy for them. And that's something I've been quite proud of actually over the last year is developing that process, and it's taken time to do that. But we're now there. We've now got a process that isn't lengthy, and it does really prioritize the important parts. And that's been really appreciated by especially the mums that we've been dealing with, who don't have much time on their hands.
And that's brilliant. I love that. And thinking about how you make that happen, that real focus of making it easier for your clients is brilliant. I just want to go back in terms of some of the structural elements, though. Just finally, you and your dad are making the strategic decisions to drive the business forwards. How do you do that together?
Yeah, I have to be honest. We are quite open with that in terms of me and Phil, my dad, we run the business. Of course, we will make the final say on big decisions, but we're very sort of open to take advice from our staff as well, whoever that is. So my mum, Dawn, she's got a lot of good ideas. Aggie's recently come up with a really good idea in how we can generate more business from a different avenue. So something that we're not really targeting at the moment, that she's got experience in or had experience in a different employer. So that's exciting. So yeah, I'd like to think that we are very open and welcoming with all of our staff. And you can be like that, I think. When you've only got 7, it's not a huge number. We do the odd team meeting, we get everyone in, we do a bit of brainstorming. Do we do it enough? Probably not, because we are so busy. As individual advisors, we've got stuff on every day. And there's a lot of work to do, the day-to-day work. So trying to find the time to get these meetings in the diary isn't always easy. Obviously, start a year in January, we've already sort of secured a nice morning that we're all going to look to try and brainstorm. And me and Phil will have a meeting before that. So we have a rough idea of what we want to go ahead with. But it'll be a great opportunity for the rest of the team to have a think about any ideas that they could bring to the table that are either going to improve us within the business or that are going to generate more leads for us to utilize going into the new year. So yeah, it's definitely something that we try and be as inclusive as we can. And to be honest, in a family business like ours, titles it doesn't matter. We're all very relaxed, and we're all off the same page, which is really important.
And the culture then in the business, it's based on you, your father, then mother and wife joining. That's the sort of the cultural aspect that's been nurtured and grown. But now you're bringing in extra people. How do you find the right people to fit that culture? How do you manage that culture?
Yeah, it's tough. We've kind of chickened out in a little way in that we've only employed, I'm just trying to make sure I've got this right. Yeah. We've only employed people that we have a connection to already. So we haven't, I'm quite wary of employing someone that we don't know. And we're quite fortunate in that because we've only had to employ a few people so far, we haven't had to, we found people within our network of friends that actually were right for the role. And yes, they're not family, but it helps encourage that sense of being a team, a one team. So yeah, that's kind of how we've gone about it. And I think, as I said, I think we are very inclusive. We are, me and Phil really try and run the business in that way. We really try to create a culture where, yes, we are half the people within the business are family, but actually, at the moment you come and work for us, we will treat you like family too. So we're not ones for being all professional in the office and hiding the fact that we're family. That's not the route we decided to go with. We sort of thought, you know what, we are family. Everyone knows that. So we can act like family, but let's make sure we really encourage the non-family members as such to feel welcome and to feel really part of it. And yeah, I like to think we've done that well. I mean, I've had no complaints so far, so I think that's all going well. And yeah, it helps that Aggie, for example, is one of my mum's very good friends. So there's a good connection there. Leonie, who's starting in January, she is one of my wife's great mum friends, and she's got 2 young boys who are the same age as my 2 young girls. So we spend a lot of time with them outside of work as well. So yeah, I think we're all good friends or family, and that's a nice thing, I think. And as long as you keep things professional when needed, of course, and no one takes the mick with it, and no one sort of is unprofessional, then it works really well. And I think we're all on the same page. We've never had any issues in that respect.
Brilliant. Yeah. Well done. I mean, there's no right or wrong when it comes to recruitment. No. You found a process which works for you and is really successful. And that's brilliant. And there's some great advice in there, employing people that you're connected to. As your business is small and growing, perfect. Really, really good.
The thing is, like, realistically, if you're looking to get to 20, 25, 30 people in your business, can you do that forever? Probably not.
No, there will come a point where you'll have to do that transition.
Absolutely, you would have to transition. Doesn't mean that you have to lose that culture, probably. I think there's a way you can keep that culture, but recruit in a more traditional way. But yeah, we're not there yet. And you know what? If we're not there yet and what we're doing is working, let's keep going as we are now, and we can slowly develop that over time if we do get to the point where we are starting to recruit into that sort of level.
And the fact that you're building a culture around people that have connections, they're there as part of that structure that you're building, the way of working, that will create, and even if that's say maybe up to 10, 12 people, that will create quite a really robust network within your business that will protect that culture as people that maybe are not connected, as you say, you grow to the larger size and doing that where rather than bringing people in early that don't fit that culture, you're building that real strength within it first. So yeah, brilliant. So you've grown, you're taking on new staff. You even talked about somebody joining you in January. That's awesome. Cash is king. So how do you go about making sure that the cash is managed correctly in the business?
Yes, it's our industry is quite a tough one because it's you write a mortgage, so you write that business in January, for example. But as we know, to complete on a mortgage, if it's a purchase, that takes a lot of time, and you write that business, but you're not going to get paid it for 4, 5, 6 months, maybe even longer. The insurance side of things is slightly different. So that's usually a shorter time frame, 2, 3, 4 weeks. It can be longer if it goes into underwriting and the insurer wants to check the medical records of the person that you're insuring. So it can be longer, but we have a pipeline, obviously, so you know how much money's in your pipeline, and you just got to be strict with yourselves and just make sure that your outgoings, there's no sort of, I've got no magic golden ticket of advice in this area. You just got to make sure your outgoings are at a level that you're comfortable with, and that if you work out what's a lower month look like for you at the moment, if things don't go quite well, what sort of figure is that lower month? And as long as your outgoings still cover, as long as that figure still covers all your outgoings, leaves you a little bit afterwards, then you're probably in a good position. So we've always tried to be very spend money when we need to, but very cautious and very streamlined. There's kind of in our world, and I'm sure it's the same in a lot of industries, there's kind of 2 ways to grow. You can either, like we have, stay very compact, keep don't take lots of people on, and try and be as profitable, just as profitable really as you can be. So just trying to be profitable per person, per advisor, really making sure that you're being profitable there. The other way in which you can obviously grow is by taking on a lot of people, trying to get loads of leads in, and probably make a bit less on each advisor, but the turnover can be much higher. Now, it comes with a lot of risk. That obviously, the more people you take on, the more risk there is, the more sort of issues that can arise quite often. And there's been examples in the industry. I've got some sort of mentors one mentor in particular, who told me back in the sort of early noughties, he was running a business that was turning over around £1 million a year. And he wasn't making a penny because he said we had lots of staff, we were spending lots of money in different areas, and actually there was no profit in there for the guys running it. It was a great business. The business did really well, and everyone was making their little bit, but no one was really making that much money because it just wasn't profitable in that sense. So we've always been very cautious about that sort of issue. And yeah, I'm much more along the lines of trying to keep things as small as possible, but make sure that we're profitable. And if we have a downturn like we have done in recent times, I think that's helped us. The fact that we don't spend loads of money on marketing, for example, advertising and that sort of thing, that's probably helped us a little bit. So yeah, cash flow is a very simple one. You've got to just make sure your outgoings are at a figure you're comfortable with.
Brilliant. Totally agree. That's really, really good advice for that. But it does come down to the appetite of the business owner and what they want to do and achieve, and how they want to deliver that. So what's their risk appetite, and what are they willing to go for? So, well, Liam, thank you so much, and really, really great thoughts and advice in there. So, let's meet up in 5 years' time and have a coffee, and we'll look back at the last 5 years and see how things have gone. So what's happened in the next 5 years, looking back, that happened both professionally and personally for you to make those 5 years successful?
Yeah, it's obviously we have these sort of conversations all the time. And I think as a business, our short-term goals and our medium-term goals are quite strong. I think we know where we want to be. We know that we want to grow. We know we want to keep doing what we're doing and growing in the way we have. Probably not a lot will change in our process right now. I mean, obviously things change all the time, and it's something could occur in a year's time that an opportunity could arise that we think that's brilliant, and it's completely different to what we're doing now, of course. But I can't see there being a massive change for us in what we're doing. It's very much keep doing what you're doing because it's working well. I think that's the sort of position we're in our journey as a business. Long term, we've got a couple of different ways in which we could grow, and I think we're still at the stage where we're not 100% sure, to be honest, exactly what it's going to look like. I know for a fact that what we're trying to achieve in the short term and medium term will definitely help. Whatever route we end up going down, it will help, and we'll be in a stronger position to make that decision slightly further down the line. But yeah, right now I'd say it's not a great time to ask that question because we're not quite there yet. I think we're still a relatively young business, and the growth really, we say we're an 8-year-old business, but in reality, really, since we've been taking it seriously, we're only a 3.5, 4-year-old business, really. So yeah, we're still relatively young in that respect. And because our industry is so determined by the economy, that's another factor. You can make some big plans, but if the economy goes a certain way, you've got to be very, very good at what you're doing to beat that trend. So you've got to have that in the back of your mind as well, I think. And that's something I've definitely learned, because this is the first time I've really experienced a bit of a downturn. And yeah, you can think you're bigger than the economy, but I promise you're not. So it's you've got to be careful, I think, with long-term goal setting and making sure that I think making sure your short-term goals and your medium-term goals are really robust. I think as long as they're in place, you'll be okay. And of course, if you've got that long-term goal, you've got that sort of paradise that you want your business to get to. That's fantastic, and work towards that. But I don't think it's something that every business has to have all the time. I think as long as your short-term and medium-term goals are there and you're still moving forward, that's okay, I think, to not have that long-term goal set in stone quite yet.
Yeah. Wow, great. Oh, I look forward to the conversation in 5 years. Well, Liam, thank you so much for a fantastic conversation today on Scale Up Radio. That really come across to me is that family. You started off challenging your dad, helping him change his business, then joining in the business and growing the business, bringing the family in, keeping that family culture tight as you've recruited and grown over the last, as you say, 3 to 4 years rather than just 8 years of the business. I love that. Finding people that you already have a connection with to help ensuring that the culture remains and grows with you. You've really given us some thinking around, focusing and niching down and why that's so important and how that has resulted in the growth and the development that you've achieved. But I like that niche idea where you talk to us, you're looking for people that were like us. You know what they're feeling. You're experiencing being a young family man, having 4 children that have grown up. I also know exactly what you mean, but you understand them, where you are in your life journey, so the requirements that they have within their life journey. And I love that expression where you've actually tested ideas to find how that marketing works, how you get people to react and to trigger with you. And then as the business has grown, you realize you need those clear roles and responsibilities, and you have those, but you still work as a family team to help grow. You're listening to everybody, which is just brilliant. And I can really see that the growth, what you want to do and achieve, is going to be delivered because you have a passion in you, and you also have some structure and some elements, and you are ambitious, but with cautionary tale, as in, it's got to be profitable and we've got to have the cash in the bank. So thank you so much. Fantastic conversation.
No worries. I think I'm just very lucky. We're very lucky that it's quite rare that obviously being a father-son business, my dad's got 38 or 30 odd years experience in the business. That's so valuable. It really is valuable. And I'm very lucky to have that. But then I would also argue he's lucky to have someone sort of younger who has that sort of a bit of extra energy to really grow and that desire to grow. And also with a sort of modern marketing head as well. With my wife, we understand social media, for example, has been a big one. We understand how to use that and try and generate business from that. So what I'm trying to say is we're very lucky. We've got the best of both worlds, really. Yeah. And it's absolutely between all of us as a team. It's working out what is the right decision for the question in hand, and luckily having all that different experience allows us to, I think, to come up with a good solution forward. And most businesses aren't in that, but smaller businesses anyway, they're not in that position. Yeah. So yeah, we're very fortunate in that respect.
Brilliant. So we always bring it to close with our quick fire round. So off we go. If you go back to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself?
It would be just to try and specialize as early as you can. So not necessarily, as I said, not necessarily just work in one specific sector. Still help as many people as you can, but focus your energy and efforts on a particular target market. Because otherwise you can end up being a little bit of a jack of all trades and not really nailing down something specific. And I think as a young advisor, I felt that because I was young and didn't have a lot of experience in the industry, I didn't have the knowledge to be able to do that. And actually you can learn something quite quickly and become a specialist quite quickly in something if you put some time into it. Yeah. So yeah, that would be my thing.
Brilliant. Books, any books you recommend to our audience?
Yeah, I have to be honest, I'm not a massive reader of books, but I would say the one that I like, actually went to a talk of his at the Cheltenham Town Hall recently. Do you know Simon Reeve, the travel documentarian? Completely not related to business here whatsoever, but he's got a fantastic book about sort of traveling to places that are slightly out of the ordinary, because you can gain a real experience from doing so. And he sort of urges people, don't just go for your all-inclusive holiday every year. Try and challenge yourself a little bit and challenge your family, and potentially give your kids an experience that not many other kids might get. And yeah, that's definitely something as my kids get older, I really want to try and take them to places that aren't just your standard beach holiday and actually get out there and see some things that most families might not see. I like that idea.
Brilliant. Well, fantastic. I look forward to listening to those in 5 years' time as well. So, podcasts. Which podcast do you recommend if you listen to any?
Well, I'm quite sporty, as I said at the start. So anything sport related, I like. Nothing in particular, but anything sport related, really, I quite enjoy.
Okay, fantastic. Onto your mobile phone, are there any apps that make most difference for you?
I have to be honest, I'm on Instagram a lot. Instagram's the one that I'm on a lot from a personal perspective. It's great for catching up with my friends and keeping tabs. A lot of my friends are now having kids as well. And you can't always, you can't call all your friends up every week to check how things are going. So Instagram's a great way of you're seeing how kids are developing, which is nice. And yeah, so I like it from a personal perspective. From a business perspective, it's been fantastic for us. The mum community especially is very, very heavy on Instagram. There's loads of mum related pages, sort of helping mums with things like breastfeeding, with sleep training, all these things that are so important for mums. And what we found is actually there is an appetite for a financial mum related page as well. And we haven't set up a specific Go2mortgages mum related page, but just our work page, we try and promote that sort of content sometimes, and that's been quite well received. So yeah, Instagram's probably the one I use the most.
Brilliant. My favorite question of all, who's had the most influence on you as a business leader?
It'd have to be my dad. It's a boring answer, but it would have to be my dad. I'll try and give another answer as well. Who isn't my dad? Let me think. Probably the chap who I mentioned, who actually had the big business, where it wasn't very profitable. He is a chap, Martin, who worked in our industry, in our network, a bit of an industry legend, really, really nice guy. And I've never met someone so honest, really. He really, I don't know if he just took a shine to me or whatever, but he's always been so honest and upfront with mistakes he's made. And I think that's great. It's nice to meet people who have been successful, but talk more about the mistakes they've made than they have the positives. And I think that's really important, because it's nice to know that no one's perfect, and people who have been super successful have had times where they've been down on their knees quite often, and that's what it's about. It very rarely just happens and it's all a lovely golden sort of street.
Never is. No,
I think it's very rare. So it's nice to hear that from someone who I respect a lot. And but obviously my dad as well. He's helped me in more ways than one over the years, and he's a great business partner.
And finally, Liam, how can people get hold of you?
Through emails, through our website. We have a messaging system through our website, which is www.go2-mortgages.co.uk. Instagram, if you're on social media, we use that a lot. We reply to direct messages on Instagram all the time. So any of those ways, feel free to get in touch and we can help. Brilliant.
Liam, thank you very much for this amazing conversation today.
No problem. Thank you for having us. Yeah, it's been really interesting to chat to you and dissect the business.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way. And you can order a copy on all your favorite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.